I want you to take a moment to think about the women that have inspired you in your life. I was always surrounded by strong women. My Pakistani mother and aunties are almost under 5'3", but they have this quality where they seem larger than life because of the way they stand up for themselves and their beliefs. Despite of growing up in a small conservative town of Pakistan, I was always raised to believe that I could be anything that I want. I was never held back because of my gender, and this is because of the strong women I grew up around, the people and the activists that paved the way for my generation, and to them, I am endlessly grateful. Talking about feminism is one of the most controversial topics to talk about these days. And the more I have spoken about feminism, the more I have came to realize that this word has too often become synonymous with man-hating. Feminists are often perceived as man-haters. If there's one thing that I know for certain is that this must stop. For the record, do we really understand what feminism is? People have been defining feminism differently, and so do the ideas of feminism. Since ages, they have been giving different definitions to express their idea behind it. But as for now, feminism is a belief that men and women should have equal rights and opportunities. It is a theory of political, social, and economic equality of both sexes. My name is Mannal, and I'm the first woman in my immediate Pakistani family to come abroad and study in an American university. Today, I'll be sharing my perspective with you that has changed over the couple of years and how I have seen this issue being present wherever I have been to. I started questioning gender-based assumptions quite a long time ago. When I was 8, I was confused for being called bossy because I wanted to direct the plays in the playground during recess time while the boys were not. When at 14, I got pinpointed by the certain elements of society because I dressed up the way I wanted to. When at 16, my female friends started dropping off their beloved sports teams just because they don't want to appear too boyish, or as their mother says, girls after puberty don't go hopping around the playground. When at 18, my male friends were not able to express their emotions just because they don't want to appear too fragile, and as society keeps telling them to man up. That is when I decided that I was a feminist. And this seemed uncomplicated to me. But my recent research has shown me that this word has become quite unpopular. Women are scared to identify themselves as feminist because they're often called too aggressive, isolating, anti-men, and unattractive even. Why has this word become such an uncomfortable one? I have heard people saying that, yeah, feminism is great, but we don't need feminism anymore. And I find this so deeply upsetting. I might have said the same thing a couple of years ago because I thought that if I'm not being discriminated against my gender, feminism has done its job. But now I know that feminism has never done its job. Feminism would have done its job when no woman in the world is discriminated against her gender. When each woman can make decisions about her own body, when each woman has a freedom of choice, that is when I'll know that feminism has done its job. People often tell me, Mannal, why do you talk about women's rights and feminism when you were privileged enough and you were given these rights? You see, this is where the real problem comes in. When we are too privileged, we often become ignorant of those around us. We think the problem doesn't exist anymore. As the American award-winning author, historian, and activist Blair Imani points out, sometimes privilege looks like to ignore the crisis that people are dying from. Just like younger me always thought that feminism has done its job when it has never. Between thinking that feminism has done its job and now, I have learned about some great women. Women like Eva Gerbuth, who fought for classism and homophobia. Women like Lucy Stone, who fought for women's slavery. Women like Malala Yousafzai, who fought for girls' educational rights, and so many inspirational women who highlight one important term: intersectionality. Intersectionality is the interconnected nature of categorizations such as race, class, and gender. I learned this word only a year ago. Unless you're involved in some sort of a movement or taken any obscure electives in college, the chances are you might not know about this word. And this is actually quite dangerous because it leads to this idea that these movements are fighting against each other for attention rather than fighting towards a common goal. And what exactly is that goal? Working together to bring equality between men and women. And we often think that in this century, women are powerful enough. I mean, they don't need these rights, but no, there are so many aspects in our society where women are still let down based on their gender. I can sadly say that there's no country in the world that can yet say, we have received gender equality. There's no country in the world where women can expect to receive those equal rights. These rights, I consider them to be human rights. These are no special rights. My life was a sheer privilege because my parents did not love me less because I was born a daughter. My school did not limit me because I was a girl. Those feminists out there working for this word are those who made me who I am today. And if you still hate the word, it is not the word that is important. It is the idea and the ambition behind it, because not all women have received the same rights that I have. In fact, statistically, very few have been. In 1997, Hillary Clinton made a speech about gender equality in Beijing, China. Sadly, many of the things that she wanted to change are still true today. But what stood out for me the most was that less than 30% of the audience were male. How can we expect to bring a change in a world issue when half of it is invited to participate in a conversation? Men, I would like to extend your formal invitation because gender equality is your issue too. Both men and women should feel free to be sensitive. Both men and women should feel free to be strong. I think it is time that we perceive gender on a broad spectrum instead of taking it into two sets of opposing ideals. You must be thinking, why is this girl standing on the stage talking about gender equality? And that is a really good question because I have been asking myself the same thing. All I know is that growing up in South Asia, I have seen girls being discriminated based on their gender. I have seen young girls being forced to get married at a younger age. I have seen girls taken out of schools without their permissions. And the worst part is, that was only South Asia. I have seen discrimination in US and Britain where women are still not paid equally. Women are often harassed. Women are often pressured to stay in violent relationships. And seeing this issue being present around me, it makes me question myself. What am I as an individual doing, or at least contributing to solve this issue? And having this opportunity, I felt like talking about it because this is something too important to me. And it should be for you as well. If you believe in equality, you might be one of those inadvertent feminists I spoke of earlier, and for that, I applaud you. We're struggling for a uniting word. We're not fighting or pinpointing each other's opinions. We're just struggling for a uniting word. And the good news is, there are a lot of movements who are actually struggling for this. And right now, I ask you to step forward. Step forward, not only for women's rights, but also for the freedom of emotions for both men and women. To be seen and to ask yourself, if not me, who? If not now, when? Thank you so much.